All right, this next thing we're going to work on is what I call float and drift, and it's a player control kind of thing. And I'll show you where, I'm going to go over here and show you kind of where we're headed, and then I'll show you how we get there. So I've got this little bot on the screen, and if you do nothing, he falls down. He'll fall toward the bottom. If you tap the up arrow, he'll get a little bit of thrust up, but as soon as you let go of the up arrow, or even if you don't let go of it, he will fall back down. So you tap it and he gets a little thrust up, and then he falls back down, and you tap it and he gets a little thrust up. Now also, if you press and hold the left arrow or the right arrow, you can see that I can make him drift left or right. So we're going to work on this idea of simulating the gravity first. That's the first thing. And then this tap the up arrow, which gives him like a boost up. And it works against the gravity, but then eventually the gravity takes over again. And then the other thing we add is that drift to the left and drift to the right. And I've got this little program that you're going to work on. I've got it set up so that we've done this kind of thing before. It's chasing after this little coin, and if you touch the coin relocates to another position. And so this is a pretty simple, pretty typical gameplay kind of thing. We're not going to do a scoreboard on it. It would not be hard to do a scoreboard, but we're not going to do one today. What we're after today is this simulating gravity, this little float that happens with the up arrow that works against the gravity, and then the drift to the right, the drift to the left. And again, it's a good player control concept that you might or might not use later. All right. So when you look at your email and you've got this link to a program, it's going to look like this. You'll have to do the same thing that you always do. You'll have to click the link, then you'll have to view code, and then you'll have to remix. I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to hit remix, and I'll just call this float and drift. I'm going to rename it, and I'll call it float and drift demo here. So I'm going to change the name. All right, there we go. And I'll save that. And so I'm going to kind of lead you through this a little bit if you need it. All right, so here it comes. I put some comments into the code that show you kind of where you need to do certain things, and then I'm going to kind of talk you through how to do it here. The first thing is simulating gravity. If I run it right now, the bot doesn't move. The coin is there, the bot is there, and the part that checks to see if the bot is touching the coin, that's already in there as well, but we don't have any gravity yet. All right, well, to simulate gravity, that's an acceleration down kind of thing, and we've done this, but I'm just going to run through it here. All right, so I'm going to go to sprites, and this is going to be a velocity y, and I'm going to go to math, and I'll bring over a plus block here and back to sprites and another velocity y. Here's what I want to do. I want to take the bot, and its new downward velocity will equal its old downward velocity, and I'm going to do a 0.1 on here. Now this is gravity pull. If you use a bigger number, if I said 0.2 or 0.5, that's stronger gravity pull is what that is. It's more pull, more acceleration down. All right. Now if I reset and run this now, you'll see that all we've got is some acceleration downward. I don't have any control over him yet. If I hit a key or anything like that, I don't have any control. I haven't done that yet. But I've got acceleration down, and that's kind of what gravity is. All right. Well, now what we're going to do is create the upward float. Like if a player hits the up arrow on the keyboard, we want a little boost up. And it will be kind of a temporary boost, but it will be a boost up to keep the bot from falling. All right, so that's going to be done. And I've got a comment right here. You can see where it is. Create upward float here. All right, so we're going to, this is going to be we're checking, we're reading the keyboard. So this is going to be an if. And on this one, I'm going to use key went down, because that makes it so that if somebody just taps the up arrow, it'll read if the up arrow was tapped or pressed, and it will apply what I'm going to put in here. Now on this one, I'm just going to set a velocity y, and it's going to be bot. And I'm going to use, and again, this is where you can kind of try different numbers, because this is going to be upward thrust. If somebody taps the up arrow, I'm going to use a -5, and it will work against the gravity. So you've got two strength things working here. You've got the gravity pull down, and you've got the upward thrust, and you could play with those numbers, and you'll get a different kind of action depending on the numbers that you use. If I reset and run that, he begins to fall, and if I just tap the up arrow, I'm not going to hold it down, but I'm just going to tap it, and you see what happens when I tap it. He gets an upward thrust, and then the gravity takes over again, and he begins to fall. So tap, tap on the up arrow, and he goes up, but then the gravity takes over, and he goes down. And that's exactly the situation that we want. All right, so you see what we've done so far. This was a counter pattern, an acceleration kind of thing to simulate the gravity. This is an if the key went down, then we give him an upward boost. Now we're going to do a little drift left, drift right kind of thing. All right, well, once again, this is going to be we're going to read the keyboard, so it's going to be an if. And this time, instead of key went down, I'm going to use key down, because it makes it so that if you hold the right arrow or the left arrow, it will actually kind of accelerate in that direction. So I'm going to use if key down right here, and I'm going to set up a counter loop. This is going to be X acceleration. This is left and right movement, right? So it's on the X axis. So I'm going to go to sprites, and I'm going to use a velocity X, and I'm going to go to math, and it's going to be a counter pattern because I want some acceleration happening here. But these are going to be X's. All right, so I'll do bot, and I'll do bot, and I'm going to add, oh gosh, I don't know, 0.2. Oops, I got off the keys there, 0.2 or so, I think. And now we're going to do a similar thing for the left. So really, you know, you could do this whatever way you feel like is convenient. If I'm going to make another one down here that will create left drift, well, yeah, let's check our right drift. Let's run this, and I can tap up, and if I press and hold the right arrow, he drifted off to the right. Now I can't counteract that right now because I don't have any drift left yet. All right, so let's reset, and let's add in the drift left. Now again, you could just build another one of these because it's not hard. It's not a ton of code. Or if you wanted to, you could copy, and if you get your little cursor in the right spot there, you could paste it in. And we'll switch this to if the key goes down, if the left arrow is pressed, then I'm going to use the velocity X equals the velocity X, and it's going to be a -2. So that should create left drift, right? So he's falling. I tap up arrow to keep him from falling. If I drift him to the left or to the right, I can tap or I can press and hold the left arrow or the right arrow. You have to be a little bit careful because if you press and hold the left arrow and right arrow too long, he really accelerates and he'll just run off out of the game screen. And you can do things to keep that from happening, but we're not going to do that today. So let's go ahead and hit the coin. And oh, there it is. All right. So if I hit the up arrow and I tap, see, I've got some kind of nice smooth player control here. I kind of like it. If I tap the up arrow, I get a little upward boost, and if I tap, 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 or press the left and right arrow, I get that drift to the left and to the right. And I can kind of float this guy all around the game screen. And again, he's just chasing coins right now. And we're not. If you feel like you want to put a scoreboard on it, you could. You do not have to do that today. But if you're feeling ambitious and you want to try it, then go ahead and try it. But this is what we're after. What you're seeing right now is exactly what we're after today. And it really kind of required, if you count the drift right and the drift left, it kind of required 4 different things. What I had to do here, just summarizing, I had to simulate the gravity, and that was with an acceleration counter pattern. I had to counteract the gravity with a little upward float, and you see that right here. That's if key went down, and that's the up arrow. And then for the drift right, that's a key down, and it's a counter pattern with a little acceleration to the right. And if the left arrow goes down, it's key down left, and it's a little acceleration to the left. And then we've got it, right? And you can play with the numbers. You could have different numbers in there and get a different action, a different feeling to it. But what I'm going to be looking for when I check your work, I want to see that you've got gravity stimulated, you've got upward float that I can do with the up arrow, you've got drift right that I can do with the right arrow, and you've got drift left that I can do with the left arrow. And that's it. That's your mission.